You can learn about how to navigate life in retirement by listening to practitioners like me or researchers or read books. But one of the best sources is to talk to people that have already done it to learn from their journey. And that's what we're going to do today. Welcome to the show dedicated to helping you, yes, you, not just survive retirement, but to rock retirement because you have confidence in the plan that you created. Today on the show, we're going to talk with Brad, a Rock Retirement Club member. He shared his journey of moving into a retirement community, specifically the Villages in Florida. About a year or so ago, I went down and visited Brad, and we had an event there, and he drove myself and Kevin Lyles around for probably 4 hours on his golf cart, giving us the entire tour. And today he shares his thinking as to how he made that decision so we can get one person's perspective on choosing a retirement community to hopefully help you have a bigger perspective in your journey. So here we are with Brad. How you doing, Brad?
I'm doing great, Roger.
Good. You gave us a 4-hour tour of the Villages a few months ago, and I wanted to chat with you about your journey to deciding to move to the Villages. So is that cool?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
Well, let's start off with the facts. So how old are you now?
My wife and I are both 55.
You're 55, and you are retired now, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So we'll get to when you moved to the Villages, but when did you first get introduced to the Villages? How long ago was that?
We made our first visit here in the April of 2022. We come down and spent the whole month of April for the very first time. I had done a bunch of research, and Tammy had some good friends that had retired in Iowa and moved here. So we made the trek down here to see them and check out the Villages.
So had you visited them in the Villages before deciding to go for a month?
No. Back in the fall of 2021, when I first joined the club and I started the master class, and we were going through the goals and the vision and all that tough stuff. What do you want your retirement to look like? And it was pretty clear to us that we really wanted to get out of Iowa during the winter months. Okay. And so we had checked out, we went to Phoenix for a week. I can't even remember exactly when that was, in between there sometime. And that really wasn't for us. And then, this good friend of Tammy's that moved here, and we're like, wow. We were a little surprised that they made the move. And we're like, well, let's go down and check it out. And from what we had heard, 3 or 4 or 5 days just isn't long enough. And so we made the decision to go ahead and come for a month.
Was it during the summer months, winter months? I guess winter months, right?
No, it was the month of April.
Okay.
Yeah. And we picked April. It's kind of interesting. I mean, to rent in the Villages is the most challenging time, of course, is January, February, or March. That's one of the most expensive time and the most challenging time to find a place. So we're like, well, you know what? Iowa in April we can get snow and wind and cold, and it can be just anyway. So we just chose April, and that's kind of the reason that we did it.
Okay. And to visit friends, but also what were you thinking in terms of searching, like when you went to Phoenix, et cetera? You were just trying to find a place to buy, or what was the intent?
Actually, no. When we decided that we needed to get out of Iowa, or wanted to get out of Iowa during those months, our initial thought is to, go south, Florida, someplace like that, for 1, 2, 3 months is what we were thinking. Ultimately, we wanted to get it to where it was at least 3 months. And so part of coming down to visit Tammy's friend was to check it out to see if this is a place that we would want to do that, with the intentions of that we would check others out as well. And yeah.
And early in your journey, you found one that you liked, obviously, because you live there now.
Yeah. So when we come down that first year for a month, we're like, ooh, we were obviously moved here now, so we could tell we really liked it. It was really what we wanted, but we thought we better do our due diligence a little bit. And so we went to another community, 55 community in Florida, and checked that out. Now, we didn't stay because it was close enough to the Villages. We went up and spent a day, and wasn't even in comparison to what the village was. So we made the decision after that neither one of us, Tammy or I, really like water isn't that important to us. So being on the coast, anything like that wasn't that important to us, but being active and having a lot of things to do, outdoor things to do in a community that, like the villages, it has all those opportunities with clubs and different things. So we decided to chose the villages.
And so how long after that month-long visit did you buy a place?
That was April of 2022. And then, of course, we went back to Iowa. And then we come down for another month and rented. And that was April of 2023. We did basically the same thing we did in the same month. We rented in a home that was a little further south in the villages and ended up being kind of like where we ended up buying. But we spent that second month or that second year for the month just to, once again, just to make sure that this was what we wanted to do. And after that month or during that month, we decided that, we're going to go back to Iowa. I had a couple biking tours that I was doing, bicycle touring. And then once I got home, we were going to put the house on the market and then come down and rent, because you can rent in the August, September, October timeframe. Nobody really in those months, it's not busy. So it's easy to rent. And we would sell the house in Iowa, have the money in the bank, come down here, rent, and then find something to purchase. That's actually what we did. So we actually come down 2 years in a row for a month. And then after that point, we decided to purchase. And to go back a little bit in the story, our original plans was to just rent a place for 3 or 4 months and then keep our home in Iowa. After being here, we decided that we wanted to spend more time in Florida than we did in Iowa. And then at the same time, too, our children were moving and doing different things in different locations. So being back in where we had our home in Iowa didn't make that much sense anyway.
So you weren't leaving your kids because they were going off doing their thing anyway.
Right. Yeah. They're both adults and they have their careers and their lives. And we'll get to this in your conversation, but we do plan to go back to Iowa. In fact, we're looking right now 4 to 6 weeks in the summer to be able to go back and see the kids and family and different things for a longer period of time. So it's not kind of the reverse of living in Florida and going back to Iowa for 3 or 4 months, but for at least a month or two, we'll try to do that every year.
So rather than being a snowbird, which you live up north and you come down, you're a sunbird, I guess we'll call it.
Exactly. We kind of reversed of what we thought we would do. And, there's some benefits to that. Obviously, being able to be in Iowa, January, February, March is not nice, but really that starts in November. So to me, it's more like 5 months of gloomy, overcast, cloudy weather, cold and snow type of thing. So weather-wise, I think we haven't experienced a summer in Florida, and I know that that's going to be a little different, but hopefully we'll be able to spend some of that in Iowa.
And you moved down full-time 6 months ago, correct?
Yeah, 6 months.
Okay, so you haven't experienced the full dead of summer yet. How has your experience been being there full-time for the 6 months?
It's been so far so good. I think it certainly helped to spend 2 full months down here before we actually made the move. We were already involved with the bicycle club and different pickleball groups that month that we were here just this last year. So we kind of got moved into a new neighborhood. Everybody's kind of, the way the villages kind of operates, all the new homes get built in the new villages. And so everybody kind of moves into them. Everybody's kind of new. And that's kind of a nice way to meet new people. But we've been very pleased with the decision. It's like anything, nothing's perfect, but overall, what we wanted to get out of it, we're getting out of it. And that's to be very active, live an active lifestyle with plenty of things to do. And so, it's been, for 6 months, it went really well.
So your intent going into this, Brad, for you and Tammy was it sounds like you looked for 55 and over communities. What was behind that decision?
I think a part of it is, we kind of wanted to be, and there's pros and cons, but one of the things being retired at 55 in the communities we're living in Iowa, there wasn't that much to do with there wasn't that many people that were retired, especially in our age group. And so coming to Florida and being in a retirement community. Now, obviously, there's people that still live here that are 55 and older that still work, but majority are retired or working even part-time. So there's plenty there's 3,000 clubs, and so there's plenty of activity and people doing things. I mean, for Tammy and I, it's right now anyway, and that could change. That's the nice thing I like about the villages is if you get tired of playing pickleball or water volleyball or what have it, there's so many different things to do. And so part of why the 55, because we want to be around people that were in a similar situation, I guess.
Yeah, definitely felt on our 4-hour tour that everybody was there to make friends and be active.
Yes. And I think it's kind of interesting because people move here because they want to. They're not working, they're not moving here, they get transferred here to the job, anything. They move here because they want to. So most people are here for the same reason that we are. And that's for the most part, like anything, there's 150,000 people in the villages. You have a few people that this isn't right for them. And that's pretty normal too. But overall, people have been super friendly, just happy to be retired, happy to be active, happy to be in the sunshine. Just it's been a good fit for us.
And so I've had clients that have gone to like Margaritaville and the Carolinas for similar reasons around being active in the socialization. And you're 55, so like your cohorts are probably still working for the most part in Iowa.
Right. Yes.
Okay. Yep. So tell me about the villages, because I was a little blown away because I knew it was a big retirement community, but I didn't understand how it was organized. So just give me a brief rundown of how the villages works.
Yeah, so the villages started 30 years ago, and so it's basically grown from in 30 years to there's close to over 100 villages within the villages, I guess, if that makes sense, because like we live in Lake Denham Village, and so there's all kinds of villages within the villages, and basically every village area has all the things that people want to come here for: golf and recreation and town squares where there's live music and retail stores and restaurants and different things like that. And so, like when you were here, just because the villages it's big, but you don't have to travel to one end to the other to experience. I mean, we're within a 5-mile radius, 10 miles max of where we need to go to get the amenities of the villages. And so we pay an amenity fee, a monthly amenity fee for the pools and the tennis and pickleball and all the different types of the rec centers and different things like that. So we pay an amenity fee. Does that make sense?
I think that hits it, where I think of it like Disney villages. That was what they kept coming back to, is that it's organized where there's these multiple town squares that everything is curated, I guess is what I came away with. And clean and safe and kept up well. And we went into, I think you took me to a couple community centers. They all had a theme. We saw pickleball. We saw people playing water volleyball. We saw people doing croquet, or I don't know what we saw. There were crafts. It was really a bunch of everything.
One of the things that I don't know if you took away from this, I mean, I don't think people, unless you come here, you don't realize. I mean, it is just really well done, and it's consistent from start way up, what I call up north, where they started, all the way down to where we're at. I mean, they've managed it very well. You have no idea what village you would be in, because it's just, you can't tell a difference of how it's kept or how it's very clean. And it's, when you go into those rec centers, they're not just your typical rec center. They're very well done.
Yes, they're extremely well run. And the employees are a lot of the villagers. Is that what you guys call yourself?
Yeah, there are a lot of part-time. My wife and I both have decided in the last 6 weeks, 8 weeks, we both got part-time positions working for the village's rec centers, 15 to 20 hours a week. And it's been it's part of it's a little structure that we put into our day, which is nice. Social piece of it. And obviously it's a little extra income for spending and doing fun things in the villages. So that's been nice. One of the things and we had the intentions to kind of do that. We didn't know if we do it right away or how long it would take to do that. But one of the things that I wanted to make sure when we did that is I wanted very much no commute or very little commute. So,
well, you drive a golf cart, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I can ride my bike or walk or take the golf cart to work. And Tammy's rec center is within a mile. So the same thing there. So I don't know if fun's the right word, but we wanted to enjoy the work and not make it, no stress, but just have some structure in our day. So that's been a good decision so far.
So it's very clear that this kind of structure and curation of community and villages and these little town squares is right for you. Have you talked to anybody or experienced anybody that where either they get there or they visit and it's like, yeah, this isn't for me?
Yeah. Actually, I would say it's a small percentage, but there's definitely, in fact, there was a couple people that we met that were actually working at the rec centers, and they were going to move back to a home, as they called it, because it just wasn't for them. And yeah, I think when you kind of get down, it's not for everybody. I mean, if you don't enjoy activity and being around people, and doesn't mean that you have to socialize all the time. I mean, but it's very much an active community. And if that's not for you, it wouldn't be the place to come.
Yeah, I'll tell you my takeaway from it, Brad, when I've been describing it to others, is I imagined if I lived there, it would be a blast. But then I say, I don't think it's for me. Like, we want a small town that is activity based, but the curation of it just felt odd to me. So I think you guys approached it really well in that you tested a couple different ones to get different flavors. And you seem to have settled on this one really quickly. Our plan, like with Salida, which is the town that we have a place in now in Colorado, our plan was to do a hub and spoke and test different cities. And we landed on Salida early, and we cut a lot of that testing short because we liked it so much. And it sounds like you had the same experience.
Yeah. And I think, when we were looking at just what do we want this retirement to look like in the vision, and a lot of people talk about travel, and Tammy and I are just, that's not important to us. It's not something that we really care so much about doing. And so we really wanted to be in a community where there was plenty of things to do. If we got tired of this, we could do, there's many different things to, and that may even change within the seasons. In the summertime when we're here, maybe we won't be outside so much. Maybe we'll be inside enjoying different clubs that are inside doing different things. But it's an adjustment. And I think that's one reason why I wanted to come down for a month, because after researching it, I knew that it was going to be pretty overwhelming to come down for just 3 or 4 days. And so I think people that move here, and I speak with them frequently because in my position, a lot of people coming in on lifestyle visits and checking the villages out. And even people that have only been here a month or two, it takes some getting adjusted and to just the golf carts. I mean, people don't realize.
I thought I was going to get run over a couple times.
I mean, there's 70,000 golf carts and roundabouts. But one thing I do want to, and I think you've seen that when you're here, is that just because it's so big doesn't mean, it's like anything. We live in our own little 3-mile radius here. So in our own little, we don't have to go to one end to the other of the village, and it's not massive that way. Does that make sense?
No, totally. You have communities. And they've done an amazing job with that, by the way. I really came away impressed of everybody felt like they had their own community and own downtown area via the village.
Yeah. If there's a certain band that's playing that you like, it's in another one of the town squares, you can certainly go, but it doesn't feel like the only place you can go to listen to music is one place and it's a 30-minute drive. That's not how it works.
Yeah. Sort of like, I remember going to Michigan State, Brad, and every now and then there would be it's a 45,000 back when I went there. Lord knows what it is now, but every now and then you would have a class that was across campus, and it was like a whole different world because you never went to those areas because you just stayed in your bubble of wherever your college was.
Yep.
What advice would you have somebody that is either they haven't retired yet and they're trying to think of where they want to move? How should they approach that?
I think first where they want to go based on what they want to do. What do they want to do when they get to wherever they want to go? I mean, what are the types of things that they enjoy? I mean, do they enjoy walking in the beach, or like where you guys are in Colorado? I think that'll dictate kind of where you want to go. And I say this, and we didn't do this very well, but explore different areas is probably a good idea. But that depending on your time frame. I mean, if you're working to go to 1 or 2 a year, maybe And I think it's, if you can, I go back to this, at least here for us in the villages, coming for a long enough time to really go, okay, the first week is it's kind of like the honeymoon thing. Okay, but is it really what you want after 2 weeks, 3 weeks? And I think we really could settle in and go, yeah, we can see ourselves living here. We feel good about this. And I don't know if you can get that same feeling in a short stay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense. That's what we did in Colorado as well. My aunt, Patty, I had dinner with her when I came and visited you. And Aunt Patty and her husband, she's a hippie. That's what I remember. She grew up transcendental meditation. They have a place in Iowa because I used to live right at Maharishi University. And I remember she lived in Florida, I think in the Jacksonville area. And she told me that they moved to the Villages. This was a number of years ago. And I'm like, what? You're the last person I think would go to the Villages. And when we were having dinner, which was the first time I'd seen her at the Villages, what she said, because they had migrated to Florida and went to a normal neighborhood, was the problem of going to a normal neighborhood in Florida, meaning not a 55 and older, was that you had working people, you had people with kids, and it's wonderful to have that diversity, but they weren't near as interested or available to be able to make friends. So they found themselves isolated in a neighborhood because everybody's off doing their own things. Whereas in the Villages, everybody, it's like going to college as a freshman. Everybody wants to make friends and is open to it anyway.
That's a great way to look at it. That's kind of how it is in the Villages. And I'm sure it's in other communities as well, 55 and over communities. But it's kind of like we talked earlier about in Iowa. I mean, we're retired and everybody's going to work. And so it's just, there wasn't as many things to do with people and socialize and different things. So just a good fit. Thanks
so much for sharing your wisdom, Brad.
I really appreciate you guys making the trip down here and having a meetup. It was a good meetup, and I'm hoping to continue to meet with some of the Floridians around the area. So
awesome.
On your marks, get set.
And we're off to take a baby step that you can take in the next 7 days to not just rock retirement, but rock life. All right, in the next 7 days, I want you to maybe journal on or have a conversation, if you have a spouse or a partner, about where you're going to live in retirement if you're not retired yet. Where are we going to live? Why? Why are we not considering something else? And if you are retired, have this conversation with fresh eyes of, is this really where we want to be for the rest of our life? Does it give us the environment that we want, the community that we want, the activities that we want? Maybe ask the question, well, hypothetically, just playing around here, if we were to move or have our ideal location, what would that look like? Make it hypothetical. Make it a very low stakes discussion. Doesn't mean you got to make any changes, but it's good to revisit this stuff. So next week on the show, we are going to talk about the things that you should stop doing in your retirement planning. It's human nature. It's hardwired for us to add things. Michael Easter pointed out a lot of research in his book, The Scarcity Brain, that we talked about a month ago. We tend to want to add things in order to improve things. In reality, much of the time, the biggest impact can be had by stopping things. How nice it would be to do less things and have a big impact. So we're going to talk about that. In addition to that, we're going to have Dr. Bobby with a Rock Life segment on health and answer your listener questions. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. All performance reference is historical and does not guarantee future results. All indices are unmanaged and cannot be invested in directly. Make sure you consult your legal, tax, or financial advisor before making any decisions.